So let's get to one of the major stories of the day. So it was a story that broke right here outside of our shores. The president has been on this business in the United Arab Emirates, part of what we would say the president has achieved. But there is a major step that's been taken by Nigeria and the global trade stage with a signing of a landmark comprehensive economic partnership agreement between Nigeria and the United Arab Emirates. A deal the government says could redefine the country's export and investment outlook was signed in the presence of President Bola Tinubu and the UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed. The agreement opens thousands of Nigerian products and more than 100 service sectors to the UAE market, one of the world's most important commercial hubs. The Trade and Investment Minister, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, says the deal is designed to unlock new opportunities for Nigerian businesses, professionals, and investors and position the country as a gateway to Africa and the wider Middle East as we examine what this means for the economy and for Nigerians at home and abroad. A breakdown of what this means for Nigerians. The Minister of Trade Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, is live for us on the program tonight. Many thanks for joining us, Honorable Minister.
Pleasure to be here, Sean.
Thank you so much indeed. I would like you to summarize for us, but I tried to do some work. I don't know if that suffices to capture what that deal, it's about a few pages that captures the deal, which I saw that the federal government released through your office. But let me take our viewers through a few of this information, and maybe you can just summarize it for us at the end of these 1 minute or so. And the deal, as we know it, is the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement of 2026 between the UAE and Nigeria. And the question will be why this deal matters in terms of trade. You will be able to see on your screen in terms of trade what we've gotten or what we'll be getting in terms of new jobs in export industries, global access, direct gateway to Middle East and the world, investment, UAE capital flows into Nigeria. Those who say this agreement is designed to drive non-oil exports, attract investment and grow Nigeria's economy. What are the big numbers? I've tried to put the figures together in this manner. There are three categories I've tried to put is the tariffs have removed, service sectors are open, business entry, and also we'll see in that tariffs removal, 7,350 Nigerian products will now easily move on what UAE gives to Nigeria, and what Nigeria gives to UAE is 6,243 UAE products, and the service sector, you see 108 services across 11 sectors, 99 services across 10 sectors. UAE firms cannot operate in Nigeria. Nigerians can work and set up companies in the UAE. Very landmark, isn't it? So what can Nigeria now sell to the UAE? Agriculture, manufacturing. Those products now enter the UAE with zero or reduced import tax. What Nigerians can do in the UAE, professional and business access, and what the UAE can do in Nigeria, there are a long list of them. And what are the things that have been protected? Some sensitive products remain restricted. UAE will not allow pork, narcotics, used tires, asbestos products. But this fits into a lot of ways, a lot of sense for Nigeria. The WTO deal, the AFCTA deal, the ECOWAS Nigeria agreement, and this CEPA all comes together. But let's hear from the horse's mouth, not literally, but the minister is here for us to give us a summary. I don't know if I did a good job in trying to extract and distill what they... So this is landmark, isn't it, for us as a country, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is. I must say you did an excellent job. Thank you for breaking it down for Nigerians. We like to deliver the message in the most pragmatic manner, even though it has been very technical work, over 11 months of tough negotiation. And I think both sides were quite pleased with where we landed this deal for Nigeria. Now, speaking first of all to Nigerian exporters, under the renewed hope agenda, the diversification of our economy and pushing of those non-oil exports, over 7,000 line product lines, from seeds, oil seeds, to pharmaceuticals, to our chemicals, to agricultural produce, will be allowed into the UAE market duty-free. We really do want Nigerian businesses to take advantage of that. We specifically chose the UAE. You know, Mr. President has been cultivating this relationship. This week would be about the 4th visit that he's paid in person to the UAE. And both sides, the UAE president has also been very warm and very receptive of the Nigerian side. And so we negotiated this deal to enable Nigerian exporters have a hub into the rest of the world market access through the Gulf. The UAE is about the 10th largest trading nation in the world. And so this is a gateway, this is a hub, this is an access that connects east to west, that connects to just a global hub that we all know people like going to Dubai, people like going to the UAE, but why the UAE? When it comes to transport, logistics, when it comes to businesses having head offices, that is one of the melting pots of the world. Now, Nigerian businesses, as you rightly noted, Sean, will be able to open offices, subsidiaries. Business owners and business people will be able to be in the UAE for 3 months, a 90-day period in a 12-month period. We also know that we will be able to have our businesses grow in areas where they're competitive. In the UAE, they invest a lot in hospitality, in real estate, in tourism. And so those are areas where Nigeria will continue to deepen its access into the UAE itself, and then our exports of our products to the UAE to the rest of the world. So that's for trading and market access. Now, why is this also very important in terms of investment? You know that Mr. President has said repeatedly that Nigeria is open for investment. What does that mean? You have to have an enabling environment to be able to have businesses have the protection, the framework that gives them comfort to come. So the UAE government and the Nigerian government have delivered this G2G to enable big investments in areas where we, Nigeria, want investment in our country. We want investment in infrastructure. We want investment in so many areas that we have gaps. And so that UAE capital will come into areas, and of course, they'll make good money. But more than that, when they're looking for a hub to access the rest of Africa, they will base those investments in Nigeria and use Nigeria as a hub to export to the rest of Africa. So what we will also be importing from the UAE will be a lot of machinery, a lot of areas where we need inputs for our industrialization agenda. And those are some of the lines that we've opened, some of the 6,000 plus import lines. Of course, our prohibition list remains the same. Our tariff work has been ongoing with the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, working collaboratively to deliver not just for the UAE, but a related tariff schedule that will deliver progress for the Nigerian economy according to the Renewed Hope agenda.
Interesting scenario playing. In the books, in the letters, and in the figures that we see, fantastic idea. It looks so beautiful. But let's come down to it. I'm concerned about the Nigerian investment right here and the industry right here. If we have this handshake with the UAE, not only that the two countries will benefit, but also how it will not kill Nigeria, the domestic or local investment right here. Now, it opens for, the opportunity to a far-reacher country, if you may put it that way, in terms of the competition between both economies. But how do we ensure that the Nigerian industry and investment right here will not suffer?
Now, that is a very important question, and I'm glad you asked that. So nobody can get very far like clapping with yourself. Mr. President has insisted that this economy needs capital. We need FDI. We've also prioritized domestic investors. We've prioritized Nigeria first. And what does that mean in practical terms? No UAE investor is trying to come into the Nigerian market on their own. They need local partners. If you take, for instance, Lagos Calabar Highway, we've seen some UAE capital coming even ahead of the CEPA. We've seen First Abu Dhabi Bank moving into Nigeria. This is the fruit, Sheon. This is the fruit of hard work, of just working on investors, giving that confidence, engaging and making sure that capital from across the world comes into Nigeria. We need the infrastructure, we need the support, and there's no point acting like we don't. But we have prioritized Nigeria first. We have prioritized Nigerian investors. We have made sure that what we're importing will be inputs for our industrialization agenda. We just released the National Industrial Policy, which we're working on taking nationwide, and also supporting trade facilitation, export trade facilitation. We're also revamping our free zones. This is how you move an economy in the direction that you want it to go. The last thing I would say is that you've seen for over 2 years, Mr. President, going around the world. I spent a lot of my time, you know how long you were trying to get me on this show, and just the travel schedule that was pretty grueling last year, making new friends, cultivating new friends, bringing in investors. You saw us in Brazil, you saw us in China, you saw the Prime Minister of India in Nigeria after 17 years, you saw the Vice President of Colombia visiting us in Nigeria. The world is paying attention. Our economy last year was basically an inflection point. Now we've even gone beyond an inflection point. The reforms that this administration has delivered are bearing fruit. And you can see the UAE, it was a tough negotiation, I'll tell you that. One of the most comprehensive that we have had as a government, and definitely the first CEPA that we've committed to. And it's going to deliver tangible manifestation of development and capital for the Nigerian economy. This is something that will be tracked. It's not just an agreement that you sign and go to sleep. In the agreement, 22 chapters, you have dispute settlement. You have a mechanism where we come together once a year to see practically what it's going to deliver. Even on the day of signing, at the end of the day, my counterpart and I, Dr. Thani, we had a meeting talking about which sectors, which investors, and I know that I announced already that we're holding Investopia on the 2nd of February in Lagos at Eco Atlantic, Nigeria. So a lot is going on. It's pretty exciting. Wow. It's also going to be a push to make sure that Nigerian businesses take advantage of it. We've been pushing our non-oil export agenda, and that's the collaboration and coordination that we're going to need to deliver the tangible results that this agreement gives.
I'm worried that this deal will not be one-sided, and that Nigerian investment will also benefit. You say 7,000 Nigerian products have access to the UAE in what this deal provides, but how many Nigerian companies are currently capable of exporting at that scale? Have you identified them already?
We have had our first ever domestic investors forum about August last year. We've been working hard with medium-sized enterprises. You know my track record on ease of doing business. We've been collaborating with Nigerian Customs Service. The National Single Window Project is coming live Q1. Crimson Logic has been the technical partner. That's the world leader. And for a year, they've been working on Nigeria's single window intervention. There have been a number of things put in place. I mentioned our special economic zones, the reform of our architecture, our tax architecture. These are not in isolation. They all come together to deliver an enabling environment for our businesses to thrive and to export. Export facilitation, we actually have a program that we're releasing, we're currently curating with subnationals, with local governments actually, to go to each local government across the country and push what areas they are competitive in for export. You know that I've had a strong focus on AFCFTA, exporting to the rest of Africa. And the UAE investors are looking for a base for the rest of Africa. Nigerian businesses are also going to export, not just to the rest of Africa, but to the rest of the world through that Middle East hub. Now, never, ever underestimate Nigerian productivity, Nigeria innovation, Nigeria's capacity to take advantage. Our work as government is to give the enabling framework, which we've delivered. This agreement is by no means one-sided. It's one that I told you was a tough negotiation, but both sides insisted and came to a conclusion where it was going to be a win-win. And I'm really, 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 really delighted and proud that the interministerial team was able to deliver this for the Nigerian economy.
I'd like to ask you whether or not, because the average person watching tonight will be asking the question, what is the need for me? Whether or not this is not just optics and political or majorly a diplomatic move between the two governments, but whether or not these will have a dovetailing effect on the pockets, the food on the table of the average person. And the big question here is, realistically, Minister, how many jobs do you think that the average this deal can bring into the Nigerian market, first and foremost? The other thing will be whether or not the average Nigerian farmer, the tailor, the manufacturers, and traders will be able to export to the UAE under this deal almost immediately? Does it start almost immediately? And does the average, entrepreneur who are doing just not so much can immediately start exporting to the UAE freely the way this deal captured it?
It does start immediately, and then there's some other provisions from 3 to 5 years. And I'm glad you asked this very pragmatic question. I'll just throw it back at you and say, how many jobs do you think the Lagos-Calabar coastal highway has created and generated for the Nigerian economy? I mentioned first Abu Dhabi just as an example of one of the financial services sectors that we're opening up to the UAE that's able to bring some foreign direct investment into the Nigerian economy. Now, of course, not every business will be able to export, will be export ready. So I mentioned the program that we are kicking off to go across all local governments. We're not going to expect a nano business or even a small business to be able to go through the rigor of exportation. That is where you have the clusters coming. That's where you have the cooperatives. Our job as government is to teach and to coach. That's why we have under this ministry the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, we have NEXIM, we have BOI, we have SMEDAN, to teach and to coach our exporters. And this is by no means academic. Just last year alone, I wouldn't even talk about what we plan to do, what we've already achieved. We opened an air cargo corridor, partnering with Uganda Air, which was services for Uganda and trading goods for us. We mapped 13 Eastern and Southern African countries, and we determined what goods from Nigeria they want to receive. We determined they wanted our light manufacturing, our snacks, zobo, chin-chin, plantain chips. We determined that they want our apparel, they want the clothes, the fashion that Nigerian businesses are known for. We determined that just so many little things that we think are just basic. The African market is hungry and thirsty for our goods. And so we are facilitating and training export facilitation for Nigerians all across the country to
Well, it seems to have some network glitch there. The minister explaining what this means, this deal between the UAE and Nigeria means for the average person, and how immediately the local economy can now start gearing up for what will become an exchange in product for money in exportation to the United Arab Emirates. But my question and concern again will be whether or not if the agreement removes tariffs on thousands of UAE products coming into Nigeria, the guarantee that this will not flood our market and kill local manufacturers. Honorable Minister, if you can hear me. My next question will be about the removal of the tariffs on about thousands of UAE products coming into the Nigerian market. How do you as a government guarantee in this deal that this deal will not allow for UAE products to flood our market and kill local manufacturers? I'm really worried about it. We've seen that happen today. China has happened to Nigerian manufacturing of textile, and we saw Kaduna literally fell on his knees in the late 60s, early 70s. We know what textile industry is to that economy in the northwest region of the country. But today, those other economies have flooded Nigeria with those alternative textile opportunities, and now it's almost moribund. The big fear is that this tariff removal and the flooding of about these thousands of products will not kill local manufacturers.
Don't frame things as flooding, because you need to now find out exactly what it is that will be coming into the Nigerian market. I started by saying that we prioritize inputs like manufacturing inputs, capital-based inputs that will be inputs for our manufacturing base, for our industrialization. Very carefully thought through, very toughly negotiated to make sure that this particular concern, you know that we are the custodians of the industry. We know that we work with MAN, we work with NASIMA, we work with chambers of commerce, we work with businesses, and show those days of the 60s, the 70s, it is lack of technical skill that makes lopsided agreements. I led this negotiation myself. I'm an international trade expert. The Nigerian Customs, the Nigerian Office of Trade Negotiation, the Ministry of Justice, the players that we had working on this negotiation, a full collaborative effort, we know what we're doing. And so even if you ask the UAE side, it was a very tough negotiation in area of services because you even prioritize goods. If I move over to services, this is where Nigeria is competitive. And we made sure that in what we were opening and in what we were pushing to open, this is what Nigerians would want. And when you even look at the structure of the economy, you can't expect to grow your economy without letting in input. Basic economics, you cannot specialize in everything. And so what will be coming into from the UAE to Nigeria and what will be going, if you notice, even from a numerical perspective, you see that the UAE is actually opening up because it's quite a liberalized trading market, quite opening up more than we are even opening up. And because it was also tough, we said this our prohibition list, this is where we want to be and this is it. So businesses should be encouraged to take advantage of the inputs and also to take advantage of trade facilitation and knowing how to push their exports. It's a non-oil diversification agenda, export driven. I also told you that our special economic zones, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, just retooling our special economic zones because they're meant for exports. They're not meant for production to come back into the domestic market. So in all we've looked at in the last over a year, we negotiated this agreement over about 11 months. We even decided what we wanted to attract, the investments we want to attract, the sectors we wanted to open. There's empirical basis for all this. And I think the taste of the pudding is in the eating. We're going to be tracking empirically. So let's have this conversation in 6 months or 1 year. Already shown our non-oil export figures are up year on year. It's never happened before. We've broken a record the year before. We've also upped. I was speaking with the executive director of NEPC just about 2 hours ago. We've broken another record in 2025. So let's just watch the data.
All right.
And let's use the data to see where this economy is going.
I'm excited about this, and I tell my viewers on this program that if I see something good, I'm the one that is fast enough to quickly go and pluck it and give it to my viewers to consume, because I'm always looking for the opportunities that are there. Out of the sad and the very gloomy stories are also very good stories about our country. And when I see one, I come at it. And it's interesting that our own sector in the media is also part of the deal. And so a lot of our colleagues and a lot of people in other areas, and I mentioned tailors, I mentioned farmers, these are areas that people's ears should now start working and start itching to see what opportunities are there. But on a final note, my final question to you, I'll take you away from the UAE and I'll take you to what the lesson from China. China declared about $1.2 trillion trade surplus. And this is largely without the United States. We saw the hostility from the United States in its own policy on trade with China. China being one of the biggest one that received a major tariff disadvantage from the United States. But in all of this, the question is for Nigeria, how are we able to learn from this China? The question is whether China can maintain the momentum without the United States, playing game without the United States. But Nigeria, what lesson have we learned? If China is able to declare such an amount of trade surplus, what lesson have we learned as a country?
That is actually an excellent question, and it's one that all of us should think through together. Now, for us at the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, when we look at the Renewed Hope Agenda, item number 7, diversification of non-oil exports, we immediately circled in on the AfCFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Area. I already said to you, there's an affinity of what we take for granted. Other African countries are ready. They look up to Nigeria. They tell us this at technical meetings. There's a lot of informal trade going on. So when we want to push our trade surplus, first of all, look at our neighbors. And we formalize it, not so much informal sector. So we've been working on a lot of trade facilitation, how to support businesses on that with the technical soft know-how and around the country. So that's the program I talked about. And then also, I've said a number of times that we move in concentric circles. So UAE is a bilateral agreement, but we've prioritized our sub-region, West Africa. We had the first West African Economic Summit. There was over 400 million on deal discussions. We had a deal room that we curated for that conference. And then when you look at AfCFTA, I've just talked about, what is interesting, digital trade. You've heard me speak all last year on digital trade. This is where Nigerian businesses are competitive, our startups, our fintechs, our edutech. We focus on that as well. And then not to forget the rest of the world. Everybody now knows what a tariff is. President Trump has made sure that the whole world knows what are those headwinds. We have agreements, we have commitments under the WTO, we have agreements under or other agreements, the AFCFTA, we have commitments, ECOWAS, making new friends, leveraging those agreements. So you've seen us with Brazil bringing in transactions. You've seen us with discussions with China, you just mentioned, with India, and not forgetting our strategic partners with the UK. A lot of discussions on our ETIP and moving that forward with the US, our commercial investment partnership. Businesses just want to do business, and our job is to enable them and to support them to scale and to leverage.
Honorable Minister of Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, and I'm telling my tailor friends, my farmer friends, some of us we are failed farmers. I don't know. It's just a very lovely thing to do, but I've not really gotten a very good hang of it. I wasn't quite successful. Maybe I'll have to learn it. Now that UAE has opened up, maybe I can open an investment again. I have a farm, but I don't know whether I can go back to that that line of business and see whether...
You can, your side hustle.
Yes, a side hustle. I mean, you can't rely on one thing, can you, as a person in this country? So thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for joining us tonight. Good news, and I'm hoping that many Nigerians who are watching tonight will be able to benefit. Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Pleasure.
I appreciate it.